Hey everyone, Matt here from Fish on Alberta, and today we're talking regulations. So I have been cruising the forums and some of the Facebook groups that I'm part of, and it appears there is a great deal of confusion and curiosity when it comes to this year's regulations. So I thought I would do a video for you guys to hopefully alleviate some of that confusion. It is going to be a bit of a long video, so if you would like the short version from Alberta Environment and Protected Areas, I will post the link in the description below. It's a little 2-minute spiel on how to read the regs in the handbook. But for the rest of you, I will be starting off with the online regulations, and I will then be moving on to the handbook, and at the end I will show you guys how to download the regs to your phone. So let's get started. So we will start off with the online regulations. We are here at Google. I'm going to type in Alberta Fishing Regulations. And we can click the first one here. What we're looking for is albertaregulations.ca/fishing-regs. Click that. And here we are, the 2023 Alberta Guide to Sports Fishing Regulations. So I will quickly go through this front page here, and we will then go up and go through the individual tabs at the top. I will then go through the fish management zones, and then we will get to the handbook and the cellular phone. So if you look over here where it says for a downloadable PDF of the Alberta Sports Fishing Regulations, please visit this link. So let's do that. Hunting regs, hunting draws, walleye draws, sports fishing regs, and trapping regs can all be found here. What you want is the PDF. We'll bring you to this page. If you click here, you can download and print the entire handbook off, all 112 pages. You come over here and click download and or print. However, 112 pages is a bit much. So if you just want to download certain pages, like sports fish identification, you can download just the fish. You can come over here, click download and or print. Or if you just want, say, the map for ES2, you can come over here, you can click download and or print, and go one page at a time. Now, if you come over here to where it says click here for your nearest Alberta government office, you will see a page with various phone numbers for the Fish and Wildlife offices throughout the province. I do encourage all of you to give these folks a call whenever you have a question or an issue. Generally, if they can't answer your question, they will point you in the direction of somebody that can. Me, James, and Joe do call these guys quite frequently for information on closures or regulations that even we don't understand, and they are ready, willing, and able. So don't be shy about giving them a call. Report a poacher. This is interesting. So during COVID and all that crap that we went through, whenever we would call the Fish and Wildlife office, they would direct us to report a poacher. Everything was funneled through them. So we thought that was rather weird, but when we called report a poacher, yep, they were able to help us out. So that is also an option. You can feel free to give them a call or even fill out reports online, which are actually quite easy to do. Same goes for 310 land. So I encourage you guys to make use of those services. We will now go back. So, for those of you out there who are wondering, when does fishing season open? When does fishing season close? Well, the regulations are effective from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024. That is one entire year. Fishing season is open all year long. It never closes. You can fish any time of the year you wish. However, some lakes and rivers or ponds and streams have seasonal closures. That's a little bit different, and that's what we're going to get into. So down here, they're really putting emphasis on downloading the PDF guide. So we will now go to management messages. Here we have a message from our Forestry Minister, Todd Lowen. This generally shows you how they come up with your regulations. The important part on this page I would like to go over is low flows and high water temperatures. To help conserve fish during drought conditions, Alberta government will be monitoring water flow and temperatures in the Bow River and other southern Alberta streams. In response to low stream flows and warmer water temperatures, time of day angling restrictions may be implemented. Please see my Wild Alberta webpage for more information. Please see my Wild Alberta webpage for more information. Okay. So if you go to mywildalberta.ca, you will find the time of day angling restrictions. They are as follows. A time of day angling restriction is when angling is not permitted from 2 p.m. to midnight at specified locations. Between July 1st and August 31st, a time of day angling restriction may be put in place for all rivers and streams. I'll get to that in a minute. In Fisheries Management Zone ES1, including the Bow River downstream of Banff National Park to Bassano Dam, including Ghost Reservoir, Bearspire Reservoir, and Bassano Reservoir. The St. Mary's River main stem and tributaries, I'll get into that in a minute, below the St. Mary's Reservoir and Fisheries Management Zone PP1. So that is a mouthful. So let's go over this. All rivers and streams. I believe last year, I think the closure was, or the restrictions were 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. I think we had the restrictions in place for, but all rivers and streams. Well, one of the questions that came up to AEP over the winter was, why did you close everything? What was your thought process when 90% of the water bodies were just fine? Well, their thought process was, and you can actually look this up on YouTube. I'll actually post a link in the description below where they go over the time of day angling restrictions and why they did what they did. But their thought process was, okay, for example, if the bow was low and warm, they don't want to restrict it and then have everybody from the Bow River funnel over to the mountains and start fishing the sensitive rivers and streams that can't handle the pressure and have them, devastated. So that was their thought process. I am okay with that. In my opinion, I think that makes a lot of sense. So if you close a lot of the rivers over here, you don't want all these people funneling over to the Lynx, Carbondale, or the Livingston and then completely obliterating those water bodies. So that's why they did the blanket closure. And I am okay with that. Next, where you see it says main stem and tributaries. What they're getting at there is the main stem of a river is the main section of a river. So anytime in the regulations later where you see the word main stem, it's talking about the main part of the river. So if something says the main stem of the St. Mary's, it's talking about the St. Mary's River itself, the main part. What a tributary is any creek or stream that seems to feed that main stem. So, for example, you see all these creeks and streams over here feeding the Bow River. Well, those would be tributaries to the Bow River, and that is what they're getting at. So, if you want to fish the St. Mary's but they restrict it, you can't just funnel over to a creek that feeds to St. Mary's, because that is a tributary, and they also closed that. You can also see that more on the definitions page, which I believe we will be getting to very shortly. If we scroll down here, we will see, yes, so anything highlighted in blue is an update or has been changed. Anything in gray is closed all year, although I'm not quite sure why they highlight it in gray, because in big letters you will see it says closed all year, but whatever. And again, they are putting more emphasis on downloading and saving the guide, so you always have it. Down here, these PSAs you will see at the end of my videos. Alright, we'll go back up here, and now we will go to definitions. Alright, so on this page you will see the general definitions that you may hear about on the water. And where is it? So here's main stem, and you will have tributary down here. Any stream that flows into a larger stream or into a lake. Main stem, the main stem of a river includes the main stem river channel, which is the main river itself. And I will get into a little bit more into that in the next section. Let's go to regulations and information. Alright, so on this page, regulations and information, I could literally spend 40 minutes talking about everything on this page. We'll just go through it quickly here. This is in the handbook, so you can even download this page and take it with you. It talks about things that are unlawful, so you cannot or should not be doing on the water, like using more than one line when angling in open water, using more than 2 lines when angling into ice, or while angling be further than 30 meters away from your line. So things like that. If you come down here, it talks about your maximum possession, including fish in your freezer. However, I don't know many fish and wildlife that go knocking door to door to look in your freezer, but it could happen. So be aware. However, once they are in your belly, I don't think they can count that fish anymore, but they will count the fish in your freezer. So you can't go, say, keep 5 rainbows from Sibbald Pond and then jump over to McLean Pond and keep 5 more rainbows. It doesn't work like that. Maximum possession is the maximum fish you are allowed to keep and have in your possession at any given time. Going down here, sports fishing seasons. So yes, this talks, we will go over this. Fishing season is all year, but certain water bodies have seasonal closures. This here is interesting. Let's look at this. The same regulations apply to beaver ponds as apply to the streams in which the ponds are found. For example, if you are out in Kananaskis country and you're walking along the Kananaskis River and you see a beaver pond 200 feet away from the river, that beaver pond has the same regulations as that river, unless you see it on the chart later. So that's what they're getting at there. And that goes for basically any body of water that you see. If it's not named in this book, basically you can just let's see, where am I? Oh, I got distracted by tips on releasing fish. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a video later about all of this. So anyway, back to this. Yeah, so if you find a beaver pond on the side of a creek or a river, that beaver pond has the same regulations. This is some more definitions here about the bait, collecting bait, crayfish. Me and Victor got some flack a number of years ago when we were fishing the Willow Creek, and we ended up catching a bunch of crayfish and stomping on them on shore. They are invasive, and they're not supposed to be there, and they weren't of eating size, So we ended up stomping them, and some people got upset. But they are invasive, and all retained crayfish must be killed immediately. So that's kind of how that goes. Use caution when on ice, yes. It's amazing how many people go through every year, but what can you do? Let's see, anything else in here? I mean, you can print all this off. National parks, provincial parks. This is a good one to go over, is accessing private land. I tend to stay off Indian reserves and far away from Indian reserves. Don't want to open any of that up. Public land. Yes, actually, if you download iHunter, I'm sure most of you have it already, but if you were to download iHunter on your phone, you can purchase maps that actually have leaseholders and sometimes private landowners' phone numbers or contact information. So you can actually get a hold of them that way. Public lease land, recovery take fish, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot on this page. You guys can go thumb through it if you wish, but we will go next to online licensing. Online licensing. Alright, so if you scroll down, you will see the various prices for the Alberta fishing licenses. I know I might take a little bit of heat for this, but every year me and James have a chat with Fish and Wildlife and lobby for them to increase our fishing license costs. We are some of the lowest costing fishing licenses in the country, and we all know that Fish and Wildlife are grossly underpaid. So if they want to increase it a little bit more, I am okay with that. There is some new rules to walleye draws this year. Yeah, there they are. So you can actually come take a look at that. Oh, Alberta Realm. We will get into that a little bit later. But this is where you find the license cost. Let's go over to this trout stocking program. So some of you may recognize this page from some of my other videos where I post the regulations. This is the trout stocking program. All of these are water bodies that are stocked by Alberta Parks or Environment Parks, whatever they want to be called. These are the general regulations for said water bodies. So 5 trout, 3 northern pike, 15 yellow perch. In my regulation videos, I do mention if there is northern pike or yellow perch not present. So for example, at McLean Pond, you will find trout, but you will not find northern pike or yellow perch. This is just general regulations for stocked water bodies. Coincidentally, if you want to see which water bodies are stocked with fish, you can come here, look it up. Oh, Allison Lake, okay, and then go search out Allison Lake on a map. In every one of my videos, I also post the fish stocking list, so you guys can check out what's been stocked, when, and where. You can also download the stocking report to your phone, which I can show you at the end. So next we will go to Sportfish of Alberta. Alright, so on this page you will see the various pictures of the Sportfish of Alberta. So this is a very helpful page if you have no idea what you're catching, which you should. So if you're going to a water body that, say, has a catch and release in effect, for example with bull trout, you should know what a bull trout looks like. That is common sense, which seems to elude a lot of people. One quick story I will tell you guys now is I was at Lower Kananaskis Lake one year with a buddy of mine. We were getting our fly rods ready, and this guy come up the bank and he had a trout. And I looked over and I immediately knew what kind of trout it was, but he went and put it in his cooler. So politely I went over and asked, "Hey buddy, you got a pretty good fish, mind if I take a look?" "Oh yeah, I caught the best rainbow of my career." So he pulls out this fish, lays it on a tailgate. "Yeah, it's a bull trout." And I looked at him and said, yeah, buddy, you got a bull trout. And he looked at me, and I kind of feel bad because I got upset, but he asked me, well, how can you tell? So I looked at him and pointed, and I said, because you parked in front of that effing sign that has a picture of a bull trout and a rainbow on it. So I explained to him why it wasn't a rainbow, and the look on his face was, well, priceless, because he grabbed it and he ran down to the water, tried to revive it, but it was done. And as soon as I walked away, these other fellers came and they let him have it. So it is very important to know what you could be catching, even if you're not going for it. If you're just going for something like this over here, you should know if there's something like this in there. So if you do happen to catch it, like Arctic reeling down south are all catch and release. I don't know if there's any left, but if you happen to catch one of these in the trout ponds now, you should be able to identify it and know what to do. So, and again, you can print this page off, or even go look for yourself and get better pictures. But that is the sports fish of Alberta. So we will go home, and now it is time to get into the fish management zones themselves and go over the regulations. So if you click this drop down menu here, you will see a number of zones. You just find the one you want and click go, or you can just scroll down here and click the one you want. We will start off with ES1. Yes, we will go through each individual zone and look for changes. So right now this talks about bait fishing. Fishing with bait in ES1 streams is not allowed. Fishing with bait is allowed at lakes without bait bans. Check the ES1 regulation tables for site-specific regs. That would be these down here. We will get into those. Fishing with bait fishing with bait fish is not allowed in ES1 except at the following waters: Payne Lake, Lease Lake, and Ghost Reservoir. This section in yellow just talks about the time of day angling restrictions, which we went over earlier. You will see another definition for main stem of a river. It includes the main stem channel and any side channel. A side channel is not a tributary, so don't get those confused. Here you will see the clickable charts, which we will go through, but first, let's go through the default sports fishing regulations. These are where some of the confusion lies. So the names of most ES1 lakes and streams are listed alphabetically in the site-specific regulation tables on the following pages. That's these guys here. Smaller streams may not be listed, but may be included as tributaries to a listed larger stream. If a listed water body does not have a season listed, it is close to fishing during that period. This is exceedingly rare, but we will take a look. If an ES1 lake, reservoir, river, stream, or species is not listed, follow the default regulations below. What that means is if the lake, river, stream, or species you want is not listed in these charts here, then you go over here and these are the regulations for that water body, and only then. So the default regulations for lakes, actually you can see here, general regulations stocked trout lakes. So this regulations here are practically the same as the stocked ponds or stocked water bodies that we went over a few minutes ago. So yes, bull trout 0, grayling 0, and this is your default for lakes. This is your default for the streams and rivers. Streams and rivers are the same. I don't know if anyone would get those mixed up, but if you do, rivers and streams are here. So open June 16th to August 31st. I did book this week off so we can film some videos. Open September 1st, the bait ban, I know they changed the whitefish, yeah, because the whitefish are doing their thing in the fall and then closed. So if the place you want to fish is not listed here and it's not listed under the stocking program, then and only then do you follow the default regulations. So let's click on this first one here, lakes, reservoirs, and ponds. Okay, so some of you might be looking at this and thinking to yourself, what in the hell am I looking at? So let's go through that right now. So we'll start off with the water body. It's got the common name here, water body detail. Generally this correlates to the map. This map here, it's what is it, a township or a district map. I can do a video on that later in life, but you can use these numbers here to find your water body. And it will also mention tribs here, so details. Tributaries and outlets. An outlet is where, you know, for example, the lake. So a stream leaving the lake is an outlet. So the water flowing away. Over here you will see the season. This is what it was talking about. If this is blank, then it is closed. But I have yet to see a blank one. But we will go through the charts and look at them all. Closed all year. I mean, they highlight it in gray, but they do have the words closed all year. This tells you your season for that water body. So open all year, that would be April 1st to March 31st, which is the fishing season. However, this is what you would call a seasonal closure, where it's open from a select time to a select time. So that is where it differs. So make sure you consult these charts whenever you're heading out. So we got here bait. So this dot, anytime you see this black dot, it means bait except bait fish allowed. So where you see that, you can use bait, but you cannot use bait fish. And of course you got the bait bands, bait and bait fish allowed. So if it does specify bait fish, you can use it. But if you see a black dot, that is bait, not bait fish. So we'll come over here, you'll see a bunch of empty squares. So, I mean, I miss the old regs. They were so much more easier to read. But now, let's say for Ghost Reservoir, you come here and you go over here to mountain whitefish. There is a legend up here that tells you what each one of these abbreviations is, but that is mountain whitefish. Follow that down to your lake or water body, and you're allowed 5/30. That is your regulations. So the same goes for all these species. So Dolly Varden, 2, Cutthroat, 2, that's for Chester. So you just match the column and the row. And over here is your total. So it says 5 trout. So this is where it gets very, very confusing. And I'm going to explain this right now, because this has floored me ever since they came out with this chart style. Up at the top here, you will see an empty cell indicates the species is not likely present at that water body. An empty cell, eh? So if you go to, let's say, Crow's Nest Lake, and it says, oh look, these cells are empty. That means that species is not there. That obviously isn't true, because those species are in there, and you're allowed to keep 5 trout total. It's very confusing. Well, okay, Dolly Vardens aren't in there, but Rainbows, Cuts, and you can find some brookies in there. But that's what drives me nuts, is it says an empty cell. Well, those are empty cells there, and what they're saying is that species is not likely present. Well, guess what? They are. And you will see that more often on the rivers page. And it says, however, if caught, the default regulations for the watershed unit apply. No. For the rivers, absolutely not, and we will get into that. Regulation changes are highlighted in blue. Let's see if there's any changes. You got the closures in gray. I do not see any changes. changes. So, I mean, they say 0 Arctic grayling, but that's another one here. So if the empty cell indicates that species isn't there, well, it says there's no rainbows in wedge, but I watched them stock the rainbows in wedge. So that's where it gets a little bit confusing. So don't always listen to this up here. So if it says 0 trout, it means 0 trout. If it says 2 trout, well, then, you know, any trout you catch, with the exception of a bull trout, you can keep 2 of. Invincible Lake, I'm pretty sure, just has cutthroat in it. So when it says 2 trout, they're saying 2 cutthroat, but look, the cutthroat cell is empty. Oh my goodness. So that is one of the confusing aspects of this chart system. They have it worded horribly. So let's go back and we will go to rivers, creeks, and streams now. And let's get started with this. So just like the other chart, this is your water body name. So this is where you will be fishing. This gives you a lot of details. There is a lot more details in the rivers, creeks, and streams than there is in the lakes and reservoirs. Because, well, rivers go a lot further distance than a lake. So, let's go over this quickly here. Main, stem, upstream of secondary road 800, and tributaries. So, there's those words, main, stem, and tributaries. So, if you're going to fish the Belly River, the main stem is the main river. So, the Belly River itself, upstream of secondary road 800, and tributaries. So any tributaries, which are the streams that are feeding the Belly River, are included in these regulations. So this is mainly for, so if you can find, and I do this quite often, you go on Google and you can find this secondary road and you can see where it crosses the belly, and then you can just trace it down from there. So this is downstream, this is upstream. So open June 16th. So downstream is open in September, upstream is closed in September. So that's pretty important to know. You got everything's practically a bait ban here. Closed, so that's why those are blank. And okay, for the Bow River here. Again, we come up to this empty cells. So rainbows, cutthroat, brook trout, brown trout, empty cells. This drives me nuts. An empty cell says the fish isn't there. Well, guess what? All of them are there. But if you catch one, you have to let it go because you're allowed 0 trout. So just keep that in mind. Again, ignore some of this up here. Now, if you were to catch a fish that is not on this list up here, then absolutely the default regulations apply. And those are what we went on a few minutes ago. So only if they do not show. So what's a good one? Suckers. I mean, they're not really a game fish anyway. But if you catch a sucker, you go to the default regs, and I don't even think they're there, the suckers. I mean, suckers, as far as I know, there's no limit. They're just a trash fish, as they're called. Or you can even, like Arctic grayling. So if you catch an Arctic grayling, and I don't know how, but if you happen to accidentally catch one of those things, the default regulations would apply for that. So we're going to look for some changes here. Again, anywhere you see main stem, that means the main river. So main stem, Elbow River. So just replace that word with Elbow River, Canyon Creek, downstream. So we're looking for changes. I don't really see anything. Nope, no changes on here. Unnamed. There's a section of the Bow River that runs along and through the Inglewood Bird Sanctuary in Calgary. And yes, do not fish there. Although, I do see some people trying to fish the stuff inside of there. And, you know, they get hauled away pretty quickly. But that is for that. We're going to go up here and click on ES2. Okay, so short-term emergency stream closures. So this is practically the same thing as the time of day angling, except there is no time of day. They just close it outright. And this happened a number of years ago when the whitefish started dying off because it got too hot, so they closed everything, just permanently. You couldn't do that. So same thing for bait fishing here. And fishing with bait fish is not allowed in ES2 except for burn stick, brazoo, cow, jackfish, and glenifer. So, and this is funny because Dixon is right next to glenifer, so please don't get those mixed up. We go down, there's main stem again, another definition for you. The same general regulations will apply. So let's start going through these charts. Okay, no changes, a lot of closed. So you'll see that word tributaries. So Michelle Lake, any tributary, so whether it feeds it or whatnot, you cannot fish the tributaries. And I believe the golden trout go up there and spawn, so that must be one of the reasons why. But again, we got one trout. Well, what's interesting here is they have all the trout listed except for golden trout, which are in the Michelle Lakes. Or at least they were. I mean, it's been a long time since I've heard anything about that lake. We're going to go to ES2, Rivers, Creeks, and Streams. We're looking for new. There's your main stem and tributaries from Banff Park boundary. So that's the main river and any creek that feeds that river. Let's see, nothing new, nothing new. And again, anything new will be highlighted in blue. And yes, we're nearing the part where I will show you how to download this to your phone. This one's pretty easy. I don't see any changes. SHL is special harvest license tags. So that's going to be your walleye draws. Let's see. We will go to Rivers, Creeks, and Streams ES3. No changes. Again, main stem is the main river. I mean, I have been repeating that quite a bit, but that was part of the confusion earlier this year. So here, nothing new, same thing. Bait fish not allowed, blah, 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 blah. We will click here, ES4. We have a change. Snipe Lake. I actually already knew about this one, but let's go over it. So blue, anything highlighted in blue, and I think it might be blue in the regs as well, is a change. So you are now allowed one fish between 63 and 70 centimeters for northern pike in both seasons for that water body. One fish between 63 and 70. That is known as a slot limit. So you're allowed to keep one fish in that slot. And that is the change. So we will go back, check out the rivers quickly. No change. Alright, and we will go to PP1. So, Parkland Prairies. That is what PP stands for. Let's see here. Yeah, fishing with bait, including bait fish, is allowed except at locations listed with bait bans. Main stem of river. I'm going to click on lakes, reservoirs, and ponds. Oh, there's quite a bit of changes here. So let's look at these. Badger Lake. You can now keep one walleye between 50 and 55 centimeters. However small of a slot that is, you can keep one. Little Bow Lake, one walleye between 50 and 55 centimeters now. McGregor has changed. One fish, one walleye between 50 and 55 centimeters. You'll see some of these regulations on the prairies or the lakes with walleye between sunrise and sunset. So you cannot night fish McGregor. That is to basically the same reason why you can't hunt at night, is to give the fish a fighting chance, because walleye, they practically have binocular vision at night, so they're a little bit easier to catch. Anyway, that's what they have there. Traverse Reservoir, same thing, 1 walleye 50 to 55. So keep in mind, you should try and read some of these water body details, because it will tell you certain areas of the lake you cannot fish. No fishing within 100 meters of the canal. So again, that has very important information. What do we have here? Trout limit 5. Brown trout has to be over 35 centimeters. No size limit on the rainbows. And only 1 trout may be a brown. So, even though the trout limit is 5, only one of them can be a brown, and the brown has to be over 35 centimeters in the Mashillo Creek Reservoir. So that's how that is worded. Actually, yeah, that'd be a good one to look at. So anyway, rivers, creeks, and streams, no changes. Ooh, I fished this quite a bit. Open May 8th. Alright, we're up to Parkland Prairies 2. Dixon Dam, west of Isvale. Yes, fishing with bait, including bait fish, in PP2 lakes and streams is allowed, except at locations listed with bait bans. So we will take a quick look. I don't see any changes. So again, it's pretty straightforward. You just match the column with the row, and that will tell you what you can do. And I don't see any changes here. Again, if a PP2 lake, reservoir, stream, or species is not listed in these charts, then these regulations apply, and only then. Northern Boreal, Northern Boreal 1. We have a change. Angling Lake. You're allowed 1 northern pike now. No slot limit. So anytime you see measurements, that's generally going to be a slot limit. Whereas if it just says 1 fish, that is no slot limit. Oh, we have Muriel Lake. You're allowed 1 northern pike. That is the change. And special harvest license tags. Alright, that is the only changes for that one. Let's go to rivers, creeks, and streams. No change. So this Beaver River, I do believe crayfish are actually natural there, and they've always been in the, I'm pretty sure it's the Beaver River. It's the only river in this province where crayfish were naturally found. Northern Boreal 2. So again, same thing. This talks about bait fishing with bait fish and whatnot. You got your main stem definition. Let's look at this one. So this is a different Ghost Lake. This is not Ghost Reservoir. That is a different one. Winagami Lake. 1 walleye over 55 centimeters. This includes the tributaries, inlet canal, outlet stream, and outlet canal. So basically any of those water bodies that feed or exit out of this lake are covered under these regs. That's how that goes. Did I do this one already? Nope. Alright, no changes here. Bait allowed in river only. We're going to Northern Boreal 3. Alright, let's see, no changes here. Oh yes, changes. Thurston Lake, 1 fish 50 to 55, 1 fish 65 to 80. So 2 slot limits for walleye and pike. So again, anything in blue is a change. Has been changed from the previous year. Lakes, reservoir, and pond located north of the township 104 are open all year. Okay, so again, that's this beautiful map. You can use these numbers to find out where 104 is. I mean, I'm running out of time, so I don't have time to do that right now. Okay, let's see, the last one here, Northern Boreal 4. No changes. Again, black dot means bait is allowed. Oh, yep, bait is allowed. Okay. And again, this is all in the handbook, which I'll go over here in a minute. No changes to this one either. Alright, so that about does it for our eastern slopes, or sorry, our fish management zones. Your drop down menu here, you can find out where in the province you would like to fish and just give those a click. And oh, these are also downloadable, so if you were to click on one, same thing as I showed you at the beginning of the video, you got download and print. So if you wanted to print off the entire chart for that area, you can go ahead and do so. So now we will go home, and now we will go through the handbook quickly, and then I will show you how to download these to your phone. So let's go and do that. Alright, so I got a copy of the 2023 sports fishing regulations. These are the same ones we just went over online, and I showed you the downloadable version. There is your table of contents, I guess. You have your report a poacher number right there. Again, you don't have to just call them to report a poacher. You can call them for a lot of other reasons as well. So, the regulations, you have your map right there, and then we got our chart. Just as I explained, you just match the row with the column, and that will give you your regulations. So Cow Lake, we come over here, we got the season, water body detail, and your fish. So Cow Lake, bait and bait fish allowed, and then we have our fish limits there. So that is how you read the book. You just turn her sideways, and there are your regulations. Now again, you can print off your own and keep them with you, and try and avoid any confusion. You can drop me a line in the comment section, or on our Facebook group, or even our what do you call that, Instagram, with any questions, and I will do my best to help you out and give you an answer. And if I can't, I will try and find somebody that can. One other thing I would like to mention that you guys should pick up is the Alberta Fishing Guide, the Barry Mitchell. Comes out every year. They have some good articles in here, but you can pick it up at Canadian Tire. Here we are. This has a number of lakes, and it tells you how to get to the lakes. So, for example, Fortress Lake, travel about 50 kilometers south on Highway 40 from junction with Highway 1. So, yes, you can go through the book and find some pretty neat looking lakes. And this is a very, very useful guide. We buy it every year. I mean, it's a shame Barry Mitchell's not with us anymore, but I am quite thankful that they continued with their guide. I have read his book, and I will die with his book. That is getting buried with me, but it's a very good book. But I would highly recommend picking up the Alberta Fishing Guide anytime you pick up the sports fishing regulations. To me, these are like salt and pepper, peas and carrots. They need to go together. So that is the book. Alright, so let's show you folks how you can download the regs to your phone. This is an Android device, however the principle is the same for whatever phone system you have. You go to Google and type in Alberta Fishing Regulations. We will click the top one here, and we're still looking for albertaregulations.ca/fishingregs, and here we are. A little bit different than the computer version, but generally the same. You come up here and click menu. It then pulls up all your zones. So if you want ES1, you click ES1, and it takes you to the ES1. You will have to forgive my phone for the cracked screen. Yes, I need to replace my protector soon. I do have one behind me, but anyway, back to the regs. So generally the exact same thing. You click on which one you want and you hit download, and I open in Adobe, and there is your regulations. Now, at least for Samsung users, how you access this is I go to my Samsung files right there, and it will show me what I have downloaded. So as you can see, I got practically all the regulations to my phone just in case, and you just click and open, and you have your regulations on your phone, and you do not need the internet to open these. So these are here offline, so hopefully that helps you out. One quick thing I want to go over is some of these fishing apps, like iFish, used to be really good, but now it is absolutely terrifying because it does give you some regulations that are wrong. So if I were to come here and say go to, let's go check out Struble Lake. There's Struble Lake. Oh, page cannot be found now, eh? Okay. Could be just my phone too. It is a piece of garbage. Let's try burn stick. Okay. So there is an issue with iFish, but anyway, when I would go to Struble Lake, it would tell me the limit is 0. It was catch and release. Well, I'm here to tell you that no, Struble is not catch and release. Struble, you are allowed to keep 5 trout and 15 yellow perch. So don't always trust these apps. When in doubt, just download the regs like I showed you. On Android, you just find my files and you can have them accessible at all times. And this is actually the same for your fishing license. So if you download Alberta Realm, you can purchase and organize your fishing licenses or whatever licenses you have on your phone. And again, you do not need the internet to pull this up. So mine is on auto renew, so it just renews every April 1st. So yes, please do not rely on some of these apps, as the regulations can steer you in the wrong direction. So always keep a paper copy on hand, or download a copy to your phone, or print off a copy and keep it in your truck. I do keep one of these in my truck, one of these at home, and as you saw, I have many on my phone. So that is how you do that. I hope that helps. That's gonna do it for this video. I hope this helps alleviate some of the confusion around the regulations. Again, feel free to leave a comment or contact me on Facebook or Facebook group or Instagram if you have any questions, and I will do my best to help you out. Don't be afraid to ask other anglers on the water too. At first they may look at you a little strange, but just say, hey, you're trying to learn, and maybe you forgot a copy, maybe you didn't pick up a copy because they were late, etc. But the majority of the time, other anglers will help you. So I hope that helps everyone. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more Fish on Alberta content. One thing I forgot I was going to show you was how to download the Alberta Fishing Stocking Report. Alright, so you got two here. I like to go to this one here. So openalberta.ca. This one comes up like this, and the link will be in my description below, so you can do this on the PC as well. You see Fish Stocking Report 2023. You can click more information, download, or just click on the words themselves. Click download, and same as the regs, and now you got the Fish Stocking Report. So you can look up your lake, you can come over here, see the species, and you can see the number stocked and the date stocked. So by clicking download, you will always have this on your phone. However, in order to continuously update this, you will have to continuously download. So I come here a couple times a month. You can just click download and you will get the up to date. And you can actually see at the top here, it says updated April 27th. So that is how you download the Fish Stocking Report. So once again, thanks for watching, and tight lines everyone. Stay tuned for more Fish on Alberta content.